Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivam, Shivam, Om. Welcome to another Satsang with your host Chuck the Yogi from the Yogi Cave on this beautiful Labor Day. Let us re-enter the Gangetic Plains and explore Shankaracharya. Now, why Shankaracharya? Because Shankaracharya was instrumental in allowing or helping or aiding the Sanatana Dharma to be preserved despite 1,000 years of repression. And he did that by bringing different elements of the Dharma together into a network. And he did this through the formation of akharas or regiments, and complete with an internal structure of command, all the way up to 4 Shankaracharyas representing the 4 cardinal points. And he was a uniter. And if it wouldn't have been for that, Sanatana Dharma may not have survived. So that's his importance. And he was also an extremely skilled debater. And I'm not going to get into the details of the extremes he went to in his debates. I think I mentioned him once or twice. But yeah, that's how seminal he is. So much so that he's seen as an incarnation of Lord Shiva, which is very rare because Shiva doesn't really incarnate. He's always here, so to speak, unlike Vishnu. So I'm going to touch on one of his seminal works, the Vivekachudamani, or the Jewel of Discernment. And Shankara is an advocate of the Advaita movement, or the non-dualistic movement, where Atman equals Brahman, basically, which is one of the most ancient equivalencies or equations, if you will, all the way back to the Upanishads, which is the tail end of the Vedas. Started writing because, remember, everything was oral several hundred years before the birth of the Christ. So, and that's the tail end of the Vedas, not the origin. So these things go way back. Anyway, let's start. Salva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosyaham. Salva Vedanta. Okay, well, there's that. And this means my salutations of Shri Sadguru Govinda, who is of the nature of bliss supreme. That's Lord Vishnu, another name for him, who can be known only through the import of the essence of Vedanta, and is beyond the reach of the known instruments of perception. Because despite everything, the Sanatana Dharma and Shankara mentioned the concept of Ishta Devata, and basically what that means is that choose your own aspect of God, the one that suits you best. And that's another way that he brought different currents together into a network, a tapestry, that it withstood the test of time and 1,000 years of repression. Anyway, verse 2. Jantunam nara janma dulla bamataha pumstvam tatavibrata tasmat vaidikadharma marga parata vidvat vamas mat param atmanat ma vivechanam svanubhavo brahma atmana samstitihi muktirno shatajan makotishsu karitaihi punyayer vina labhyate. And all that represents, for all living creatures, a human birth is indeed rare. Much more difficult it is to attain full manhood. Rarer than this is a sattvic attitude in life, even after gaining all these rare chances to have steadfastness on the spiritual path, as explained in Vedic literature. It is yet rarer, much more so, to have a correct understanding of the deep import of the scriptures. Discrimination between the real and unreal, a personal realization of spiritual glory, and ultimately to get fully established in the living consciousness that is the self, in me is the self in all. These come only later on and culminate in one's liberation. This kind of a perfect liberation cannot be obtained without the meritorious deeds of many millions of well-lived lives. And I won't be making comments on this very much because, as you can see already, Shankara is thorough. He explains himself perfectly, and his mastery of Sanskrit and the sutra form is perfect, is as close to perfection as has ever been. So, and as I keep on going down this rabbit hole, you'll see what I'm saying. Durlabam trayam mevaita devanu graha hetukam manushyatvam mamukshutvam mahapurusha samshirayaha. Very rare indeed are these three things, and happen only due to the utmost grace of God: a human birth, a burning desire for liberation, and the blessed refuge of an illuminated sage. So those three elements, verse 4-7, labdva kata chinara janma durlabam tatrapi pum stvam shuruti para darshanam yastvapt mamuktao na yateta buddha tihi sahyat maha svam vinihantya sad grahat. Is there a man who, having somehow obtained this rare human birth, together with masculine temperament, could be a woman too, and also complete knowledge of the scriptures, is foolish enough not to strive hard for self-realization? One verily commits suicide clinging to these unreal things. Itaha ko navasti mudatma yastus varte paramadhyati durlabam manusham deham prapya tatrapi paurusham. Is there a greater fool than the person who, having got the rare chance of a human birth, and thereto the masculine qualities of the head and heart, falls short in his efforts to realize his own highest good? Vadantu shastrani jayantu devan kurvantu karmani bhajantu devataha atmaikya bodhena vinapi muktihi na siddhyati brahmashatantarepi. It's beautiful. His verses are beautiful. He's a complete master of Sanskrit. Let erudite scholars quote all the scriptures. Let gods be invoked through sacrifices. Let elaborate rituals be performed. Let personal gods be propitiated. Yet, without the realization of one's identity with the self, there shall be no liberation for the individual, not even in the lifetimes of 100 Brahmas put together. Amritat vasya nashasti vitenet yeva hi shurutihi braviti karmano muktara hetutvam sputham yataha. It is clear that liberation cannot be the result of good works, for Shruti itself declares there is no hope for immortality by means of wealth. Atto vimuktyai prayateta vidvan sanyasta bah yarta sukha sprihaha santam mahantam samupetya deshikam teno padishtar tasama hitatma. Therefore, the learned seeker who is striving to gain this liberation, and who has renounced all his desires for pleasures and external sense objects, should duly approach a good and generous master, and must live attuned to the true significance of the words of the master. One more. Udare tatma nat manam magnam samsara varidao yogaruda vama sadhya samyad samyag darshana nishtaya. Having ascended the path of yoga through continuous and right discrimination, one should lift oneself from the ocean of change and finitude wherein one has come to be drowned. So the idea is to find your way out of the playground. I'm going to leave it there for now, but as you can see, he's a tour de force, and this is just little jewel. That's why it's called Viveka Chudamani. But it's a fractal that contains the whole. So anyway, we'll keep on going down this rabbit hole next time. Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Jai Ma, Jai Mahakal. Till next time.